All right. It's done. It was not my favorite outcome, but there's some things, some bright sides to look at, and some commiserating to do. Let's talk about it. It's the Hoops Nerd Show. All right, guys. So the Utah Jazz, they lose the lottery. Worst case scenario happens. And honestly, I was prepared for the Jazz to lose. This was always a possibility. We talked about this. We went over this every single night. The importance of losing these games was that even if you get that top spot, or if you're like the Washington Wizards, you're the New Orleans Pelicans, if you get jumped, you drop. And so, I guess let's just talk about first what happened and then why Utah getting that number one pick was so important last year and why it was a big deal. Even though I'm at I'm feeling better now. If you watched the live stream with me, I was having a bad day. But now we're good. It's settled in. At least we know my anxiety's gone. My stomach was literally sick. Was anyone else like that? Like, honestly, to the point where I was like, am I having gut problems? And it was just literally the anxiety of building up to that moment, and then they lose. So it is what it is. By the way, like they say, I want the Jazz to be the pallbearers at my funeral. Why? So when I die, they can let me down one last time. All right, let's talk about this. So I was prepared for the Utah Jazz to lose. We talked about why they needed the number one, because the worst case scenario would then be number 5, because guess what? You could be Washington, New Orleans, Brooklyn, or Toronto. Imagine being Toronto. They fall to number 9. 9. Brooklyn, 8. We could be at 8 or 9. Could you imagine if Utah didn't do what they did and we ended up worse than we did during the Wembanyama draft when we said we didn't tank enough? I mean, if that's not a silver lining, and I get it. The 5 pick is kind of a new tier. I would have liked either Ace Bailey, Dylan Harper, VJ Edgecombe. At 5, you get to pick the best of what's available. There's a lot of teams that would rather be us right now, namely Washington, New Orleans, Brooklyn, Toronto. They all would rather be the Jazz right now. Anyways, Utah drops to 5, the worst case scenario, mainly because everyone who wants to blame things on conspiracy theories, it's the most conspiracy theory adjacent possibility out there. I was just begging that the Spurs didn't win. Begging. So at least Cooper Flagg isn't joining Victor Wembanyama, although I have to say Dylan Harper joining Wembanyama is crazy. That's going to be an interesting team because, Dylan Harper and De'Aaron Fox next to Wembanyama, I mean, that's a pretty cool core if I'm a Spurs fan. Sorry, Jazz fans, that's pretty fun if you're a Spurs fan. Dylan Harper and Wembanyama, holy cow, that is a fun duo, and we'll see if they can figure things out. Dallas, I mean... It's the most conspiracy theory adjacent thing ever. So everyone who believes the Jazz or the NBA is rigged against the Jazz, the thing is like, is the NBA rigged against just the Jazz, or is it against the Wizards and the Pelicans and the Nets and the Raptors too? Who do we got to get a list of who all is the NBA's rigged against, I guess. And then I got people that tell me like, well, we should have beat Minnesota because then we would have won because of this. Well, then why didn't we? If we knew that beforehand, then we would have done it. I would like to know who has the magic genie lamp that knows what's coming so we can just make sure we fit into whatever it is that makes us win. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's not a conspiracy. I don't believe that, guys. There's people that watch it. The video is there right now. You can watch the ping pong balls get selected. I don't know what to tell you. It just worked out in just such an annoying way. So, life is full of pain and sadness, and sometimes it's comically painful. Like, this is like, how in the world that Cooper Flagg's going to Dallas? I don't even think that's sunk in yet. And that team, I mean, what's funny is like they're not very well run considering how Nico Harrison did not get enough back. Could you imagine if he got, here's the thing. Imagine this, by the way, and this is all cope. You can say whatever you want. I don't care. Imagine if Nico Harrison had done a better job trading Luka Doncic. Like, I agreed with the trade in that Luka Doncic is fat and he doesn't stay in shape. And I actually think the 2027 pick from the Lakers that is coming to the Jazz is going to be good because Luka Doncic is more worried about drinking Yoo-Hoos, pounding nachos, than he is winning championships. Sorry, it's just a fact. But imagine if Nico Harrison had gotten back the value that everyone obviously perceives him to have. You know, had he gotten Austin Reeves as well as Anthony Davis and some picks, which I think a lot of teams would have demanded. He didn't get those things. So it could be worse. Imagine if he got Austin Reeves and Cooper Flagg and Anthony Davis with Kyrie Irving. I mean, I don't know. And I don't know if Cooper Flagg looked all that excited to go to Dallas, to be honest. Like, it's kind of a bummer for Cooper Flagg, if you ask me. Because he is going to be, what, the second, third, fourth option on that team? It's Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis, right? If he goes to Utah, I promise you he would have rather gone to Utah. He would have been the main option for 10 years. And that's why it's sad as Jazz fans that this happens. It's sad. It sucks. But it's how it goes. The whole Dylan, here's the thing, and it's cope season. This is cope. I fully admit I would have preferred to win the 2, 3, or 4 than go with 5, 100%. And I wanted Cooper Flagg. I have questions about Dylan Harper's defense. I do. I would love to pick him and worry about that later. But there's some troubling things with his defense at number 2, just being honest. He's going to be awesome. I think he's going to be great. And I would love to pick him. But it's not like he's an infallible prospect. And maybe he wins MVP and titles with the Spurs. I don't know. He's going to be really good, though, with Wembanyama. I'm not trading. I don't know. They may trade Dylan Harper to the Bucks for Giannis. That's kind of very possible. In fact, that's what everyone's saying. So maybe. I don't know if I'd do that. Would you guys trade for Giannis with Dylan Harper? I don't know. I guess it makes sense. They could probably win pretty soon with Wembanyama and Giannis, but I like long-term dynasties. I don't know. And then 3 is Ace Bailey, who I have not heard more conflicting opinions on a prospect in a while. I mean, for everyone who loves him, there's one that hates him. You know, for everyone who loves his shot making and his size and all of that, there's others that are like, he can't handle the ball, can't drive. He doesn't get to the free throw line. He's, not passing very well, So, I want Ace Bailey too, and I think the Jazz like him, and I'm sure they would pick him at 3 or 4 for sure. Who's to say that Ace Bailey doesn't drop? There are, it's Philadelphia at 3. Is there a scenario where Utah trades Lauri Markkanen and R5 and like the 21 and maybe a next year's pick, and you get not next year's pick, but maybe I don't know, the Lakers pick for Ace, and then you can tank next year and use your pick? I don't know. It's a thought, but who's to say that Ace doesn't drop, or VJ? If VJ goes number 3 to Philadelphia, do they take Ace at 4? Probably. I don't know. It's probably not going to happen. That's wishful thinking. Stranger things have happened, I guess. The Dallas Mavericks, who won this lottery, famously traded from 5 to 3 to get Luka Doncic. I don't know. Utah might trade from 5 to 3. I don't know. We'll see. Utah is at least in that range, though. In the last 2 seasons, they've been at, 9 and 10 or 8 and 10? I can't even remember. It doesn't matter. But I think it was 9 and 10. And now they're at 5. So that's why they did it. Let's look at the results. I want to share. Let's see. I haven't done this for a little bit. We've taken a tiny bit of a break, guys. Why is that? Oh, I just got to... Oh, that's what I got to do. Why did my thing get deleted, guys? Sorry, this is just like scared. Like, what is? Oh, that's my video. What is it? Well, maybe we can't do this. I don't know. Sorry, guys. This is a live, and I think I gotta edit. Well, I'm just gonna talk about it. Sorry, that's a delay. My bad. So the way the lottery pans out, you have the Dallas Mavericks at 1, San Antonio 2, Philadelphia 3, Charlotte 4, Utah 5. If you are a Washington Wizards fan, a New Orleans Pelicans fan, you've got to be absolutely distraught because you just dropped just like the Jazz did, but they go to 6, 7, and then Brooklyn at 8, Toronto at 9. All those teams got jumped too, and it was rough for everyone. I mean, every single one of those teams jumped. Brooklyn falls 2 spots, they tanked. Toronto falls 2 spots, they tanked. Utah did the best job. And this is what we talked about. That, you know, this was a very real possibility, and Utah did a good job, and now they get 5. And I tell you what, Brooklyn at 8, Toronto at 9, they're more distraught than we are. And they would love to trade up to 5. I'm sure there's guys they would love to move up to get. But they don't get them, okay? They just don't. So, tough stuff. I'm going to, like, build this right now. This dumb. Let's see. And let's do. Let's see. What does that look like? I just want to see if it's the wrong screen. Man, this isn't working. Sorry, guys. OBS is updated. Can I just say one thing? That I myself installed my new solid state hard drive today for the live stream, and I was very proud of myself. And so this video should be working better. I think I fixed some of the problems. If you'll notice, we've had times where it like delayed, or it had times where the video cut out. Let me know if that's happening at all, but it should be fixed. I invested in the channel, so thank you to all you guys who support the channel and our members and donate and our subscribers and followers. I appreciate it. I lost my train of thought here. Okay, so that was one thing. Utah comes into this and they have the best of everyone else. So you're looking at Trey Johnson, Con Knipple, Jeremiah Fears, Common Malawatch, who's someone I'm really interested in. Derek Queen, Kasparis Jakusonis, Asa Newell, Jace Richardson, Colin Murray Boyles. Now, there's not a ton of names that get me really excited. I know a lot of people have kind of fallen out of love with what's his name, Yegor Demon, who Tankathon has at 16. I mean, I personally would love to draft him because guess what? He's 6'9", length, passing. If he can shoot the ball, that's great. But I wrote about this last night. I just had some thoughts before, and I even wrote about, like, well, guess what? If we lose, it's still a success because we got the 5 pick. We're not these other teams that dropped. We're not the only teams that got screwed. Basically, outside of, I mean, honestly, every tanking team got screwed, including the Hornets, who were in the top 4. All the tanking teams lost today. So if Adam Silver wants to, like, hurt the bad teams, he certainly did. They're all going to be bad again. By the way, can Adam Silver just go away forever? Can he really just retire? He's done just a bad job. Name, like, outside of, like, getting rid of a bad owner when he started, has he done anything that's really been, I mean, I guess the in-season tournament's been pretty good, but what has he really done that's helped the league? I don't know. I gotta say, the Utah Jazz have to start deciding what their draft principles are. And that's why I kind of felt like Ace Bailey and VJ Edgecombe fit what the Jazz principles need to be, because the last 3 seasons, the biggest weakness for this Jazz team has been defense. They have been the worst defense in the league the last 3 years. They just have. It's the reason why they had the worst record this year. And they've got to figure that out. And they've got to start filling their team with players that fit what they want to be. And that is long, athletic, two-way players that can play both sides of the floor. And if you can't play both sides of the floor, you're not going to be a part of this team. Okay? That's why, we can talk about young guys that need to improve. I love Keontae George a lot. He has got to show some ability to defend this year. He's just got to show it. You've got to show that you want to defend. It's, Utah's getting 2 draft picks this year, and they've got to figure out how to get him to another level. It's up to him, to be honest. He's got to do it. You look at, let's see. In fact, let's just pull up this Jazz roster and talk about it. But the other guys that you've got to talk about, Lauri Markkanen has got to defend better when he's on the floor. It's just not been good. And I have to say, this is not a great outcome if you're someone that wants to keep Lauri Markkanen on the Jazz. Just going to be honest. Because Utah, next year, they only keep their pick if they're bottom 8. They've got to secure that. And considering 3 teams jumped, and if that happens again, you've got to be what? At least 5? Utah has to get to at least 5 because the trauma of tonight is what's going to happen. So you look at players, Lauri Markkanen, who is a very nice borderline all-star when he's playing well player, not a good defender. Grades out really poorly in the advanced analytics. Jordan Clarkson has his moments as a nice 6th man, cannot defend. Walker Kessler is the best defender on the Jazz at center. You could argue there's some offensive liabilities there, so maybe he's the kind of the opposite of what Utah has a problem here with, where you have offense is struggling and defense on the other end. Most of the Jazz players have good offensive potential, but not good defenders. He's kind of the opposite there. And I would say he's pretty good offensively. Great offensive rebounder, great around the rim, can't hit free throws, and that's an issue. He also can't spread the floor. So there's some limitations to what Walker Kessler can be. Really nice player, but you're not building around Walker Kessler. He's not your core piece. Colin Sexton, nice offensive player. On a very good team, I think Colin Sexton can play and score. Terrible defender. Terrible defender. We just have to be honest about it. I already talked about Keontae George. The young guys get a pass because they're still developing. But this is going to be like year 3 for Key. He needs to start showing some defensive chops. And I think he can. He showed some stuff at Baylor, but he's got to be better. Kyle Filipowski, similar thing. Got to show defense next year. I know he was a rookie this year, so he's getting a lot of passes, but we know what he can do offensively, and he showed some really nice rebounding. And reminder that rebounding is an important part of defense. You don't have a successful defensive possession unless you rebound the basketball. If you're not rebounding the ball, it was not a good defensive possession because they just get to do it again. But anyways, we'll see. He's got to be good. Isaiah Collier, to me, is fitting into the mold of two-way player. Now, he's got to improve defensively as well because the advanced numbers with him defensively in his rookie year were better, but he needs to show improvement. And also his shooting needs to be better. It got better as the season went on. If he gets into the gym this summer and just gets that jump shot working, it looked better as the season went on. By the end of the year, I don't know if you guys were watching. The people who subscribed to this channel were, but that jump shot was looking better. So, and he's got to improve in that way and defensively. But the passing is really great. He's really fast, really strong. I'm excited to watch him next year. John Collins is likely going to get traded. He is a very solid NBA veteran. I made a video about the potential of trading John Collins and Colin Sexton for Damian Lillard, because I think that puts an injured Damian Lillard on the Jazz. It gets rid of those contracts while also bringing over Damian Lillard. Maybe you get a future pick from the Bucks to help them clear their books and have some veterans around Giannis, and they can keep Giannis. By the way, in the Bill Simmons podcast, his intel, he said, is that they believe Giannis is staying. So maybe they'd be up for making a trade because Damian Lillard is not playing next year. So something like that is interesting. Maybe Utah trades for Damian Lillard, gets them out of that cap problem, and then gets a nice pick from the Bucks in the future down the road. Let's see. Cody Williams, man, I have to say, so it was a rough year for Cody Williams last year. It was brutal. But, and who knows, he might be a bust. But what Cody Williams represents to me is the principles the Jazz are trying to build this team upon. And what is that? That is length, that is size, two-way player, right? Cody Williams was not that this year because he was just not very good. But if you go to the advanced numbers in like D LeBron and some of these places, the defensive numbers look pretty good. I need a drink. They look pretty good. Now, he may be a complete bust because offensively it was rough. He looked too passive. It was really rough at times. And in all honesty, it helped us tank. It's not that far away for him to become a nice player. If he's hitting threes and defending, then all of a sudden you've got something very nice because he's got pretty good size at 6'6", 6'7", whatever he is. He has good length. But what, like I said, he represents what the Jazz are trying to do with their draft picks. With their best draft picks, what have they done the last 2 years? Last year, they draft Cody Williams. Length, size, two-way potential. Who do they draft the year before with their best pick? Taylor Hendricks. Length, size, defense, two-way potential. So, if I were predicting what the Jazz would do, it would be someone that fits into that mold. Now, honestly, at 5, maybe Utah trades back. There might be a team like, who knows, maybe the Brooklyn Nets are in love with Trey Johnson. You know, maybe they just love Trey Johnson and they say, you know what, Utah, we'll give you number 8 and our pick next year because we're going to go for it in our, you know what I mean? And Utah gets, at that point, maybe they pick like a Common Malawach. I love Common Malawach. He's one of the guys that I look at fitting that mold. You know, I know we have Walker Kessler, and it would be a bummer to just pick 2 centers. But here's the thing. I'm going to probably do a video about this. I'm trying to switch. What screen do I even want to look at here? There's 2 things you need, at least in this modern NBA, that you have to win a championship. Well, I guess you don't have to. But the first one is you've got to have a superstar leading your squad. That's why losing out on Cooper Flagg sucks, because he could have been that thing. And he would have been fine in Utah and happy and you know, everything. It's why, guess what? AJ DeBonsa is fine going to BYU. It's the same idea. I'd love to get AJ DeBonsa next year. And guess what? Utah's going to go for it. Just, you can plan on it. But the other thing, outside of having a superstar wing or outside player, I mean, you know, you could argue Oklahoma City is proving that you can win with your best player being a guard, but that's hard to do. If you can get a superstar wing like Cooper Flagg or any of these wings, you know, you can go down the line and looking at the best teams, the Luka Doncic's, the LeBron James, the Kawhi Leonard's, the Kevin Durant's. I mean, I would argue Giannis is an outside-in player, even though he's not like a three-point threat, but he plays outside in. You have to have that kind of wing player that plays on the wing. But you also need something else. I guess if you don't have the MVP, you typically need a player at the center position that shoots and defends the rim. It is the archetype that has helped different teams win the championship. You look at the Bucks when they won. They have Giannis, but it's Brook Lopez hitting threes and defending the rim. You look at the Boston Celtics last year who win the championship. You have Porzingis defending the rim, shooting threes. In fact, looking at these other teams that are at the top, you have, let's see, or who do they trade for? They trade for, why can't I think of his name? But the spread center from Minnesota. I'm getting tired, guys. What is his name? Karl Anthony Towns. You have these different teams in the playoff. You know, right now, the Pacers are playing incredible. Who's playing at center for the Indiana Pacers? Miles Turner. What does he do? Shoots the ball, defends the rim. It is an archetype that has led to winning for multiple teams. And so that's why if Utah can somehow trade into the top 10, or maybe they trade back a few spots for, someone gives them a lot and then they just trade for Kalman Malawach at like 8 or 9 or something like that. And those teams can give Utah a pick plus their pick in this draft. I would think about it, because Kalman Malawach, the film is already coming out. And if you saw the film from him at Basketball Africa, whatever it's called, is awesome. The guy shoots the three. Now, the rebounding wasn't good enough in college, especially in that Final Four game. It was not great. But I think he just measured out at the combine at like 7'3" without shoes. He is huge. If you wanted a player that you could have that could defend Victor Wembanyama, that could spread the floor, shoot threes, defend the rim, he is that archetype that would be ready to do that. Good night, Evie. My daughter's going to bed. Anyways, that's why I'm really interested in Kalman Malawach. And you can let him develop. You got to figure out how to get him stronger so he can rebound the ball. But he is awesome. And, maybe you trade back from 5 and take him. Maybe you draft Con Knipple and you trade number 21. And because I guess the question with Con Knipple, he's probably the option at 5. I think he can defend. He plays really well. His comp is kind of a Gordon Hayward. I mean, if you get Gordon Hayward, it's a pretty good outcome, would argue. But we shall see. There's just some players that I think are worth looking at. Kalman Malawach is the one that keeps kind of standing out to me. With shoes, he's 7'2", defends the rim, finishes at the rim at an incredible level, and then also, like I said, spreads the floor and shoots the ball. Has potential to be really, really good. Oh my gosh. Basketball video games, that was the smartest thing ever, because then you win either way. So basketball video games, I put $50 on the Jazz to get pick 5 in hopes they wouldn't. Here's some of my winnings. It's going to be okay. Trey Johnson is my guy. Well, thank you, basketball video games. I appreciate it. $5 is super generous. I really appreciate it. That's actually the smartest thing I've ever seen. You are incredible. Way to go. Congrats on the winnings. That's a great way to win either way. Because if you lose, well, you win. If you win, then, you're happy. And the thing is Trey Johnson might be the guy. Like, I'm going to watch some film. He might be just the guy. Maybe you just say, you know what? Trey Johnson has potential to be special. I mean, when you look at him, we've talked about him all year. Like, this guy's really good. And I tell you what, I was a little disappointed in the measurements because it was like 6'4.5" without shoes. So he's 6'5", 6'6", which, that's fine. It's not gonna, it's not something to write home about, but man, does he shoot the ball, and he's got limitless range. And so maybe Utah just takes him and they say, you know what, this guy has potential to be really special offensively. Defensively, it's a question. But you know what's crazy? The thing that came out about Trey Johnson in the combine that I didn't know is that he has a 6'10" wingspan. So, Donovan Mitchell's like 6'1", 6'2", but he had that 6'9" wingspan. That's crazy. And so him being 6'4" and a 6'10" wingspan is nuts. That is not nothing. And so who knows? If you think he can defend, great. If you're picking Trey Johnson, you're kind of locked into him as kind of a potential piece. I don't know. How would you guys feel about picking Trey Johnson at 5 and trading into like the top 10 to get maybe Kalman Malawach? I would kind of like that, to be honest. And then we still have 21. So you're going to have different types of guys. Rasheer Fleming, his numbers at the combine, like his measurables were amazing. So Utah's going to get 2 players out of this draft. It's a brutal, kind of frustrating end to an entire season, but it could have been worse. At least we're not saying, like, could we trade to 5? Could we trade to 5? We got the 5. We got the 5. If Toronto wants to trade up to 5, they're going to have to give something up. But what's interesting is that there is kind of a wide gap there. I do think maybe trading Trey Johnson is kind of the guy, but Con Knipple is interesting too. So Utah's got their work cut out for them. I don't know. Guys, let me know what you think in the comments. Like and subscribe to the channel. I did want to give a shout out to the All-Stars. Thank you so much, guys, for all your help. I'm actually kind of invigorated to talk about this. I think it's fascinating. Going at 5, you're going to have to make a really interesting choice. And I think this actually makes it very likely that the Utah Jazz are super active. And not in the way maybe people hope, the typical kind of casual fan hopes that they start winning games and whatnot. I think they're going to trade, like, if you want my prediction, they're going to trade Lauri Markkanen. It's like not a matter of if, it's when. And it'll be interesting to see what that happens. I'm going to make videos about that. I want to do more and more videos. You know, I said that at the end of the season, but I also kind of needed a break. And I tell you what, it's super disappointing because getting Cooper Flagg would have been absolutely exhilarating. Like, it would have been so cool, but it was not to be. This was the path that was chosen for us, so we must walk it and do the best we can with what we were given. And what we were given is pretty good. Pick 5 is not bad. Not as good as pick 1, but it's not bad. And next year, we will be doing this again. Anyways, guys, like and subscribe to the channel. Let's give a shout out to our All-Stars really quickly. Thank you guys for supporting the channel. Through thick and thin, you guys are here. I appreciate it. All right, let's give a shout out to Baby Elliot Matson, Christian House Money to Haas, Robert Hall of Fame, Wham Bam, Cam Bam, thank you, ma'am, Cam Chin 3, Steve, I believe in Steve, Jazz Exile, see ya, Lexalator, Jordan the Goat, Bresserol, Austin, our Grant Editor Extraordinaire, KG10 to TH5, the OG, and Patrick Kubo, the Sewer. Oh, Glowboy 911, $2. Thank you so much. There'll be no one left at pick 5. We wasted a tank. I don't know, man. I mean, thank you for the $2. I appreciate it very much. But we, like I said, could have been worse. You could be Brooklyn. You could be Derek, or you could be Toronto, not Derek Queen. You could be Toronto right now, picking 8 and 9 and hoping the Jazz don't pick the best player, which they're probably hoping you don't pick Trey Johnson. They're probably hoping we do. I don't know. We'll see. This offseason is going to be great. We're going to see which guys come in for draft workouts. Going to be amazing. Going to be fun. I'm excited. The draft is still coming. And who knows? Maybe something crazy happened. Maybe the Jazz, maybe they trade up. I don't know. You don't trade the number 1, but maybe there's a team at 3, 4 that might be willing to trade back.